watching. Yeah. We're live. Yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Chai Together. I am your host and founder, Pratibha Day. You are tuning in for your cup of courage, hope, and imagination today. And we use courage to showcase the stories on this platform. We use hope to overcome. And we use imagination to resonate and understand what the story is being shared. So, with that being said, I'd like to bring on my Bumble friend, Mr. Ryan Christian. So I met Ryan via Bumble networking last summer, and I don't use that app anymore, but it was really incredible, and we kept in touch. And he's a great actor, and he also writes. So, hi, Ryan.
Hi. Thank you for those kind words. I
Oh,
appreciate it.
yeah. How you feel?
I'm pretty good. I just
Mhm.
been networking with a lot of people. I still go through Bumble Biz to this day. It's actually there's a lot of multi-level marketing people on there and then
Definitely, definitely.
there's a lot of
Yes.
people just wanting you to join in on their own endeavors, and then there's a lot of people that actually want to help like you. So that's
Aw,
actually really cool.
thanks. Yeah, I was thinking endeavors as well. So, you want to share a bit about yourself with the viewers? Thank you, those who are tuning in.
Oh, I guess I could start just off the bat that when I was around 12, I um actually loved acting, and I just joined a conservatory program known as Boys and Girls for Harlem. And
Mm.
I remember just joining in, just wanting to sort of delete my shyness. I remember those words specifically that I used. I wanted to just erase my shyness because I didn't know how to talk to people or how to approach people in general. And now, you fast forward to me being 24, and all of a sudden I
Mm.
can't stop talking to anybody. So
Oh,
it's pretty cool.
I was just talking about that with my hairstylist. Hi, Miss Star. When you watch this later, I just got a new hairstylist in Atlanta, and she's amazing. And she just did this so with scissors, incredible. Yeah, I was just sharing with her how I used to be shy, and then now I have a voice. So I can definitely
Mhm.
relate to that, and we're aligned. And again, I match with my guests
Yeah.
and it's not planned. And this is Les Brown's "You Gotta Be Hungry" shirt by Yashika Max. So
Hey.
poppin'. Brush my shoulders off like Jay Z. So it's
Always
funny.
fly, always fly.
You already know what it is. So there's a bunch of bees here, by the way. Thanks for those tuning in, and happy Monday. Monday is a great start. Every single moment is a great start. And what I love about Chai Together is the fact that it just can be free flow, casual, yet dig deep at the same time. So, where do you want to start?
It's funny because I've was a part of a podcast for a friend of mine just a few months back, and
Mhm.
the way that we had conducted everything was that it was very chill, just like this, and it was just
Mhm.
very eye opening because when you start talking, especially when you're in front of a crowd, it's just a lot
Mhm.
of enlightening stuff comes out that you're not even aware of yourself until you
That's
just
right.
decide to talk. And then I realized that I had discovered that basically my my I have been dealing with depression for a long time, right? So I was looking back on it when I had done that podcast. It was called Convos with Yoli. And
Wait just a moment. Your voice is going in and out. Is it stable?
oh,
Okay, it's good now. Go ahead. You can restart
okay.
what you're saying.
I was
Yeah, go
just
ahead.
saying, in terms of what I had encountered, right, when I had
Mhm.
discovered everything that was going on in my mind and all, I
Mhm.
basically realized that I've been dealing with my mental condition for a long time.
Mhm.
So I had realized there seems to be this idea that, especially within the mental health world, so to speak, that if you just do a lot of things like exercise, drink water, and all this type of
Mhm.
stuff, it'll just it'll just like disappear completely. And
Mm.
it's funny because it's not to say that this is something of a discouraging statement. It's just that
Mhm.
you have to set realistic goals for yourself in order to go forward with the way you want your life to be. And
Mhm.
the most realistic thing I've started realizing is that when you set time limits on things, like, oh, I'm gonna get this done, like in terms of not having depression anymore, I'm gonna get
Mm.
this done by next week or something like that, you never
Right.
get to find yourself in that actual time frame. So
Mhm.
I'm learning that as I go.
It's interesting you say that because our prior guest, Mr. Staja Chaudhry, who I had on, and actually I saw him here in Atlanta, and I was spending time with him, and I remember he had mentioned that he wants it to be done by next year, with his emotions and get a hold of himself. And it's like there's really no time limit because we're constantly healing until we go on, like, pass on. And, he had a loss of his brother from, his brother had passed away a year ago. So it's like he wants it to be over, but it's a process, right? Like the hurt, the pain, the guilt, everything. But it's like things like that, death will take a can take a very long time, and everyone only knows what works best for them. So I agree there regarding the time limit.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because there seems to be a lot of loss nowadays, especially because the pandemic just hit everybody out of nowhere. And
Mhm.
I even look at the way the government officials handle things, and it's like, you know granted that no one can prepare for a pandemic, but
Mhm.
it's very concerning because we have a lot of conditions with a lot of people that sort of
Right.
get thrown to the wayside because we're
Mhm.
just we're just like scrounging up a lot of things that you know can be handled differently. It's I've lost some people within the past year. Yeah, for the past year,
Mhm.
and strangely enough, it hasn't even been due to coronavirus itself, but just a lot of different factors that I've realized plague, especially the Black community, where
Mhm.
it's like high blood pressure, a lot of type of diseases that could be easily dealt with. And then
Mhm.
there's some things that are just mysterious in their own right, like how you view, you look at figures like icons like Chadwick Boseman, and you see that there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that plague black people, like just just a lot of things that just seem relatively unknown, because I looked at the research for black men and their prostates when it comes
Mhm.
to having
Mhm.
cancer and all, and realized that that's a high percentage within black men and
Mhm.
black women. And it's very concerning because you look back on things like this and you see how people within their own rights were um dealing with their own conditions and their own diseases
Mhm.
30 years prior. But when it came to the simplest of things, it seemed as if we had things covered, where we would have some sort of ailments or some sort of you know
That's right.
uh it's hard to put into words because
Mhm.
there's a lot of history that goes behind it, but
Mhm.
overall it just seems strange how you can like progress in a lot of ways. Oh, good morning.
Thank you. Go ahead.
yeah, it's funny because you can see a lot of ways in which we've progressed, like especially
Mm,
within technology and a lot of ways that we are coming to grips with the idea of sexuality, like
mhm,
is sort of become something of not just a concrete set in, oh, you're just a boy, you're just a girl. We've
mhm.
progressed into different ideas of what sexuality means. But then when it comes to simple things like high blood pressure or we've sort of lost our way in in those venues.
I can definitely understand that. So, do you feel like back then things were easier and easily handled? Now they make it more complex than it needs to be. Is that what you're saying?
It's with different type of themes, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
because it's easy to say that things were different back then because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people grow up in that mentality of,
Mm-hmm.
oh, well, back then you didn't have this, you didn't have that. It was very simple. It was very easy. But then you look back on it and you look at how the that COVID-19 is being handled now compared to how it was things were handled with the bubonic plague, and then you say, we're a little bit better off, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We have a little bit more to do here than we're not stuck in ways where we have to go outside. We don't need to necessarily, albeit
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of necessities we have to get, but we don't have to have to see you in person in order to do chai together, you know?
Hey, hey,
It's like there's
out to me in our community. Yeah.
there's a lot of advantages that we have. It's just a matter of things that we sort of forget about along the way because it's hard being a human in
Mm,
general. Like, it's hard, like
mm,
when you're an individual, it's hard for me to get up in the morning and realize that I have to eat breakfast, you know? It's like I have to remind myself a lot of things, and sometimes
mm.
things get lost in
Yeah.
the midst of me
Oh, Ryan,
doing.
come closer to the camera. Your voice is going out again. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Good now.
Should I just like,
No, so
yeah,
go back. Back it up. Back it up. Okay, cool.
okay, okay,
You're so fun. Yeah, I want to ask you a question. You know, you stayed in nearby, in Bellevue where you were diagnosed with major depression, correct?
yeah, uh-huh.
So, what does your depression stem from? Like, as just a child, is something that's always just been a part of you? Like, tell us more about that.
I had discovered,
Mm-hmm.
um, through a lot of research in my own
Mm-hmm.
rights of
Yeah.
finding out a lot of that had delved through my family. Like
Mm-hmm.
I remember finding out that my father
Mm-hmm.
was in Desert Storm in the war, and he had undiagnosed PTSD, and he never really got through those hurdles, and I never really had a full relationship with him. But
Mm-hmm.
discovering that he had PTSD was something of a factor that played into me discovering what goes on with myself, because also
Mm-hmm.
my mom had lost her mother at a
Mm-hmm.
very early age and had suffered a lot of hardships through then.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just realized that there was a lot of factors that played into me not necessarily being born with my condition, but
Mm-hmm.
playing into how my adolescent upbringing was, because I just remember some bullying here and there. You know, it wasn't like necessarily up to the degree of a lot of people that end up experiencing true post traumatic stress, but I remember feeling always vaguely downtrodden, just like especially for my age as like a 12 to 17-year old. I always
Mhm.
felt vaguely just withdrawn, and I had really discovered that when I was 17 because I had noticed a lot of patterns. I had noticed a lot of thought processes that just went towards me feeling as if I was misunderstood by everybody, not wanting to
Mhm.
communicate anything to anyone, and then going forward with just isolating myself more and more. Where during the summers as a kid, I never really interacted with many people outside. I tended to stay indoors playing video games, and it can affect you as a child where you're not you may have a lot of supplements, like a lot of substitutes, so to speak, in terms of interacting, where you might be interacting with your favorite characters in a video game or
Mhm.
watching your favorite film, and that really made my appreciation for art heightened to a great degree. But at the same time, if you don't have people that you're directly talking to and directly interacting with, then
Right.
you find yourself very withdrawn from a lot of social settings once you actually
Mhm.
put in there, because it's gonna be, regardless of what you want, it's gonna be something of, you're going to be put into that party or put into that um gathering, put into that meeting, because unless you're not looking to do anything and just live as a hermit,
Wait,
you're
Ryan,
going
your
to.
audio is going out again.
Oh man, sorry about that.
All right, it's
Uh,
yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's like in and out.
let
It's
me
like when you
check.
decide to like lay back and really get into it, then it's like the voice tends to fluctuate. I don't know if it's your mic or what. I mean your, laptop mic.
Is this better?
Yeah, it's better. Thank you.
Yeah, because I'm adjusting everything just to check things out. Oh, wow. Did you hear
Yeah,
that
now
by any chance?
yeah, that wasn't good. Now it's good.
Okay,
All
great.
right. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was.
No,
What
no,
was-
that's not good. That's not good.
okay.
All right, it's good now. It's like when you're raised up, I believe it's good.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. Do
Um.
you know where you left off?
Uh. Just to test things out. Testing 1, 2, 3. Hi.
Hey.
How's everything going? You know. Uh.
Bees here. I want to ask you a question.
uh
So, have you ever had therapy, or during that time, what did you use for resolve other than video games? Like, did you have, one or two close best friends? Like, what was your experience? Like, how did you survive through that time?
Uh, well, before 17, because funny
Mhm.
enough, I had once I was hospitalized, it was because I was in a therapy session and
Mhm.
had decided for myself that I wasn't well enough to continue my junior year of high school unless I was
Mhm.
actually going forward with a lot of help.
Mhm.
So prior to that, I mainly just looked at a lot of videos, and I still do that to this day, where I watch a lot of videos that
Mhm.
just broaden my horizons with my
Mhm.
knowledge of different subjects, and then of course my traditional actors interviews that are in depth with how their psyches are and how they work as
Mhm.
people and actors. Like, I was always admiring the works of Heath Ledger, and
Mhm.
of course, I love Chadwick, and that was someone of which I had gotten to meet
Wow.
beforehand. Yeah, so I was actually really proud of that moment, and
Mhm.
it was something that, if I could dive back into the story, it was just something that I was going into a therapy session,
Mhm.
walking towards my therapy session, and seeing a figure just walking past me and thinking to myself like, who is that? That guy looks familiar. And that was during the year of Get On Up, and
Mm,
realizing that if I go back, I couldn't go back to him to see if that was actually him. So I
mhm,
just went to therapy, stayed there for an hour, walked back outside, and looked directly into the place that I had seen the figure walk into, the the coffee shop or whatever, and I saw that they were still there. I didn't know if that was them, so I texted my friends like, I feel like this is the guy that's gonna play Black Panther next year. I'm not sure, so
mm.
how do you feel about that? And they was just like, I don't know, talk to him and don't look like a creep just standing outside. And I just went in, talked to him for like half an hour, and it was really enlightening because those are the moments where I was discovering just how
Mm.
similar to me a lot of people within the art industry are, because I had looked at Heath Ledger, I looked at Chadwick Boseman, Christian Bale, Joaquin Phoenix, Sidney Poitier, um, and had seen that a lot of them had.
Ryan, your audio is going in and out, bruh.
I'm so sorry, man.
Just I don't know if you're moving the laptop around. I don't know what's going on. But I do have a question. So he was in the same area as where your therapy was at the age of like 17?
Yeah. Um, I'm also testing this out as we go
Yeah,
along
this is
because
fine. This is
okay.
fine. Just go ahead.
um yeah, so basically I was
Mhm,
in the same he was in the same area as my therapy
mhm,
appointment in Lower
mhm,
Manhattan. At this point he wasn't actually Black Panther because he was
mhm.
James Brown and from Get On
Oh,
Up.
you're on a yeah. I didn't watch
Yeah,
it yet. I didn't watch it yet. Yeah, go ahead.
that's an amazing film. So I was already a fan of his, and
Oh.
I was looking at him walking by, thinking to myself, "That's not him," because he's not with any security or anybody in particular.
Mm.
So that's kind of strange. I mean, I don't normally see famous people just walking by
That's right.
idly, passing by, just passing the time, really. And so I went to therapy, came back, and had seen that he was still within the coffee shop that I had seen him in.
Mm.
And I just talked to him, asked him if that was him. He said, "No, I'm not him." So I was
Oh my
apologizing.
god.
I was apologizing, like, "Okay, sorry about that. I'll have a good day." And then right when I was about to walk out, he was just like, "I'm kidding." And of course, it's
Oh my god. Story. I was gonna say, oh well, you got a look-alike, great for the movies, but what a story. He's like, I'm just kidding, it's me.
yeah.
It's like
So
I'm not really Pratiba. Like this is
yeah,
someone this is not Pratiba. You see the hair is different, you know.
yeah, yeah. So it was
Wow,
funny
how
because
incredible.
mhm.
Yeah. I want to ask you, what are your parents' thoughts on your experience? Like, have you shared, about your depression with them? Like, what's the support you have now?
I remember specifically when I had actually been hospitalized, right?
Hmm.
I had they had been there with me,
Hmm.
and it came as somewhat of a shock to them
Hmm.
because they had known that I was acquiring help for my mental state, but they
Hmm.
didn't know exactly to what end um things had been going badly for me.
Hmm.
So I remember specifically just talking to them in brief detail over how I was feeling, and then just telling them that trying to brush it aside like, oh well, I'm just getting therapy, so I'm all right, I'm okay.
Hmm.
But over the years, it's become a progression of being able to dive deep into what my psyche is and how I'm trying to maneuver over certain um aspects of what plagues me to this day. Like I could tell you off bat that when it comes down to it, I have this isolation mentality that's
Mhm.
always, developed over time that sort of sets me back into what I call hibernation state, where I just want to sleep and eat and look about on videos and all these types of things, but I never really want to actually go outside. That's why, strangely enough, within the quarantine stage of the pandemic, I found myself right at home because I wasn't necessarily, you know, I wasn't always the most active person anyway. So when it comes to transitioning into all these things, my parents have been there to see that if I'm not feeling up to task with going forward with a lot of things, like maybe just socializing with people or anything, then it starts with small tasks like just getting groceries or just maintaining a walk outside and stuff like that, because I just realized how important sunlight is.
Yep, vitamin D.
Mhm.
It's
I
making
just
me emotional, Ryan, because I've lived like what you suffered through, and it's like I lived that way for 12 years because what other people projected onto me with abuse and things of that nature. And I was just where you are, right? You're still in this state, or you're better now.
I'm better now.
Mm.
It's funny because I had discovered that I have sleeping issues as well. There was
Mm.
like a lot of there was a lot of things that accumulated. What was essentially just depression is now sleep
Mhm.
apnea and
There you go.
all these other things.
Yeah. I never got diagnosed, but I definitely had really extreme insomnia, and who knows what the diagnosis would have been years ago. But now I've been told that sometimes I mumble in my sleep, or as if I'm having a discussion in my sleep. Maybe it's because of the work that I do, or unresolved traumas in my subconscious, what it may be. But yeah, it's really fascinating to find out your habits of when you're asleep. Yeah.
Yeah, I had discovered especially through sleeping patterns that I had previously,
Mhm.
that there was a lot weighing in on me, and there was a lot that was tying me down towards
Mhm.
feeling as if I the emotional aspects, the mental hurdles that you go through, like
Mhm.
uh feeling it's hard to get into depth, but I
Mhm.
guess it's just something that you have to be honest with. It's like feeling as if there's a lot of people um that are within your circle that aren't for you, that are just there because of whatever aspects you hold dear to yourself, like whatever acting abilities that you have or
Mhm.
whatever connections you have, feeling as if that those are the people that everybody rather is surrounding you, mainly because they think that you'll get them somewhere. All these
Mm.
paranoid thoughts,
Very
all
deep.
these all these feelings of like even when you're having like a significant other like beside you that is there to want to employ that they're there to help you progress in a lot of ways. It's
Mhm.
there's still that there's still that feeling in the back of your head that tells you that there's everybody's against you, everybody's just looking towards
Mhm.
wanting to benefit off of you and all these things. And I realized that the sleeping patterns especially had just exacerbated that. It was just like if you were depressed before
Mhm.
and you're not getting enough sleep and you're sleeping sporadically where you're waking up every 3 hours or something, then it's going to just set everything back. And now
Mhm.
you're just in an even heightened state of paranoia, an even heightened state of doubt, self-doubt, and it's like
Mhm.
you never find yourself really grounded because of that. So
Mhm.
once you find a
Wow.
good sleeping pattern, simple enough, it makes things slightly easier. Just off the bat, it just a few days in, you find yourself at least a little more lively, at least a little more alert, at least a little
Mhm.
attentive towards the people around you, not just in a sense of, oh, well, now I can understand people a little bit more, but now you understand yourself, you know?
Mhm. So deep and so poetic. Do you write?
Yeah,
You write, right? I knew it.
yeah,
Everything you said is it's very fear based, and possibly those fears have built up, such as mine had, in my past because of all the unresolved situations, right? Whether it be family or just fear in general. And it's like when you think about the same thing so many times, like repetitively, it builds up and it just stays there, and it becomes toxic for your body, for your mind and spirit. And I know that you stated that both of your parents, what they went through, you're very empathetic to that, right? So that's why you really let that hinder you, right? The growth that you could have had, how other people were having, right? Oh, Wendy wrote something. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. That is that the are your parent situations the only things that caused a major depression, or do you just find it, and I mean this with like an honest heart and very like very open, because Sajid, and I know with his I don't want to go into detail about his regarding his brother, but I know that one thing he stated is that his brother just did not fit into this world. And that's a very statement. So do you just feel like it's just life itself that you're not settled with, that you can't find any grounding? Like, I know I'm saying a few things here, but like, do you really feel like it's people, or do you think it's just being here, the existence of it is suffering for you? There you go. Yeah.
it's it's apparent. I was talking with a colleague of mine just a
Mm,
few years back. I remember this conversation specifically because we were working on a scene together, and there was one question she had that was the idea of what people within depressive states, how
mm,
the mentality goes about and how it affects them and their worldview. And honestly, I didn't have, or at least I felt as if I didn't have the ability to sort of sum it up in a timely manner. But I feel as if it rang true to this day. What I had said was basically, we feel as if, especially within those moments of doubt, of cynicism, that there seems to be nothing that actually goes forward with what the world wants to portray. It's like there's a lot of Hollywood glamour behind what the world sort of portrays as, okay, well, mental health is at an all-time high or something like that, or we're gaining a lot of access to these things, we're getting a lot of knowledge, but you know, it always feels as if, especially within those depressed states, for a lot of people, that this is just smoke and mirrors. That a lot of these claims over mental health being um, very at an all-time high, that a lot of people are now a lot more self-aware. A lot of people are a lot more aware of
mhm,
the conditions that people are under. It
definitely.
feels like smoke and mirrors because it doesn't feel as if we are surrounded by the people that are aware of these things, that are educating themselves, that are, because I remember this quote specifically of
Mhm.
how it always seems as if those people that want to claim wokeness, are just not there when you need them most. Like all those people that want to claim as though they're able to understand us within our conditions, within our mentalities, within our in their ruts, so to speak, that they're never they're never actually supportive within those moments where we're not our best selves. And
Mm,
it's it's a double edged sword because you wouldn't want anyone to look at you in a light where you might be abusive or you might be mean at least, but you also want people to be there for you where they can understand that, okay, well, this person's lashing out and it's out of a place of pain and it's only
mm,
just something that doesn't need to be condoned, but it just needs to be honed in on where and a lot of people don't understand how to do that, and that's understandable because it's something that
mm,
is very much a turn off in its own way. Where if I remember the times where I was lashing out on people, especially people that were closest to me, and realizing within my own rights that some of these people had left my life, and it was for the better because I couldn't see myself progressing because they weren't able to help me in a way where they were mainly condoning me. It's sort of like my actions, like unintentionally speaking, like subconsciously,
mhm,
and yet they were trying to help, but really they exacerbated the situation, and so they had to leave because, albeit it broke my heart, but at the same time,
mm,
it was something that over time you realize that the more that you are able to hone in on yourself and get the professional help that you need, the more you realize that maybe some people find find themselves find themselves at their wits end, and you see figures like Robin Williams that are just in medical and mental conditions just that aren't diagnosed at the right time. They're not
mhm,
honed in on at the right time. So
mhm.
you end up losing those figures that you lose dearly, you love dearly, because it's hard to catch those moments, that right
Mhm.
moment where you're like, okay, this is what you need. Okay, this is what will help you. This is what It's hard.
Mhm.
It's not for the faint of heart.
So I have two things to say. So I didn't catch what you said regarding Robin Williams before he said that he was what, like alone? Because your mic is going in and out. But I do want to ask you. So I know that you said that the people don't know how to deal when someone is at their low point. Now, what are your thoughts on boundaries? Because if someone is dealing with their own stuff, right? They can be a friend, but if they're projecting that onto you, like I have very healthy boundaries when it comes to that, and I cut that off directly. I'm like, I understand you're going through something, however, you're not going to speak to me that way. Let's speak when you're calmer, or so I just have to let it be known because I'm not going to allow you to treat me any kind of way because you're going through something. So not everyone is equipped to deal with such heavy things, such as when I was at my lowest point last year. My tribe, my group of friends, like those people weren't by my side. Only like two people were there. So people cannot handle that, especially if they have their own stuff going on. So like, what are your thoughts on that? And come
It's
closer. Yeah.
it's funny because you know, a lot of people have these preconceived notions over what boundaries are.
Mm-hmm.
Um they have these feelings over how, okay, well, if I just stop talking to this person,
Mm.
then they'll understand. Sort of subconsciously, it's sort
That's
of a subconscious feeling.
yeah. That's not communicating though. Boundaries is when you know you are stable, you have the ability to communicate that this is what you accept, this is what you don't, this is what you're comfortable with, this is not what you're comfortable with, and what you're willing to compromise, you know. And I also did recently learn that compromise is when two people decide to settle on something that they can agree on. Um, you know, well not I don't want to say settle, but they come to an agreement on something that they both agree with. There you go. You know.
Yeah.
So, hmm.
Yeah. Um, it's interesting because boundaries are something that are need to be implemented off the bat, and I feel as if a lot of us, we especially I go through this as well,
Mhm,
that we have this feeling that we can just go forward with something or go with the flow and see
mm,
how things go from there. And
mhm,
then when even when there are red flags that we just consider to be something of
mm,
just quirks, rather, we sort of just
mhm.
categorize them because we don't want to seriously
Oh,
implement something so what feels as if it's going to be heavy within that moment, because we're
mhm.
just getting to know somebody, or we're just getting to find our comfortability factors with a
Oh,
lot of things. But
wow.
once it's actually said and done, it seems like I have encountered this a lot, that people don't want to set forward a lot of things, but if the person there isn't willing to hear you out within your respective manner, then
Mm.
what is it that is going to keep you there with that person, that if they're not respecting you, then
Yo,
how is it
so
going to
deep. This happened with me, and Miss Wendy agrees that it's a great idea to tell them straight up and then wait till they're ready peacefully, you know, to talk. And then she also shared that, you know, sometimes it's hard to catch every moment, so we do the best we can and watch for those who need us. Lashing out is a signal to listen. Yeah. Like honestly, it all depends, but what you said there was right. It was just so deep, you know, and just you have like a wealth of knowledge. It's like people who've been through pain. I remember when, because I used to write a lot and as a process, right, to journal. And I remember when I stopped writing because I didn't want to face that pain anymore. I didn't want to read about it. I don't want to keep writing about painful things. I felt like that was unhealthy too when you do it too much, right? So what is like a tool that you use? Like you know, when you write for you, or do you also write, you know, for the script? And like, what else are you doing now?
um well, with the recent projects that I've created,
Hmm.
um there's one known as The Classroom, right? That's
Hmm.
a potential television series that I
Hmm.
created with a co-partner of mine, a friend of mine, a dear
Hmm.
friend of mine.
Aw.
And we had basically written this premise off of
Mm,
the people that we had encountered within a performing arts conservatory,
mm,
and we had centered them into a performing arts high school where they would be documented by a film crew. And then that's the premise of the whole show, is like performing
mm,
arts high school students centered on a documentary. And
mm,
then they transition between documentary to regular show, because sometimes they're behind the scenes and they're just like
mm.
getting the audience is getting a glimpse into what their lives are like when they're not being filmed and all.
Wow.
And yeah, so it's it's interesting because I realized within that I've also created a feature film that centers
Mm,
on gang affiliation, that
mm,
is inspired by the music of Childish Gambino.
Mm,
And I I sort of write what I know, but also I write what I don't. So I sort of balance it out with things that I've encountered other people
mm,
uh dealing within their own hardships,
mhm,
but then I also write within what I deal with in my own hardships as well, because it can be sort of grating on the nerves, right? When
mm,
you have a constant reminder of the things that you're going through. But when you balance it out with things that you're sort of diving deep into, that you're sort of discovering within your own right, and
mm,
you figure out, you sort of retroactively go back into your own life once you're um finished dealing with the things that you've encountered, that
mm,
you're just researching on, or that you're interacting with other people on, that are affiliated with the lifestyle that you're not familiar with. And then you
mhm.
retroactively go back into your own life, and then you realize things about yourself, and then that helps you further progress into what you're trying to do with your own life.
Ryan, it's just so great to hear from you. It's like you just can listen all day.
Yeah, this is fun. I love this environment. I love seeing the comments, and I love talking to you. So
Aw.
yeah.
I want to share with you that Wendy had also said to trust in your heart. I believe true friends come from heart, no strings attached, and you can read the
Mm.
rest. You know, when I had said that to a friend of mine and the person never replied back, and even when I checked in on them just because I stood up for my boundaries and said at this time, we'll speak at another time, and that other time never happened. You know what I mean? It's just sometimes you stand up for yourself and people don't like it because then they cannot control you. Also,
Yes,
they just feel like you don't understand them, even if it's a friend. It's like, you do the best you can, but some people you click with and some people you don't. And this is someone who I had grown up with, but they're watching this. Hey, thanks for supporting on a distance. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's really incredible that, regardless of, the major depression, that you still are able to create, right? Because we're all here to create. And you're turning your pain into purpose that way. Because I remember I had so many projects when I was living like that, right? In clinical depression, insomnia, all of those things. And being still in my 20s and going through all of that, that's not living, especially at a young age. And so many people, not just us, like have suffered a lot. And mostly because of things that we just cannot forget about that eat us alive. And I just feel like that the fact that you're able to get up and still create, yeah, we all have up and down days, but that you don't just shut down, you know what I mean? Like permanently. I feel like that's a blessing in itself, because if you did that, then that's even harder to get you up and about again. Because I know from experience, it's like my mom is now shut down to where she doesn't drink chai from what I checked. And I started this because her and I drink chai together, but she's at a point where, she doesn't go outdoors, doesn't shower for periods of times, and doesn't socialize, things like that, like shutting down and just killing yourself inside because of your mindset. And that's why I do what I do and keep consistent, because I don't want to be like that. I don't want other people to be like that. So to be that change, and you creating and me meeting you through that, I think I mean, you shared with me from the beginning what you're going through, but the fact that you can still be vulnerable with people, like I really appreciate that. And you should be proud of yourself for that, because you can choose to be bitter and shut off, but you're not, you know?
I appreciate
Here's,
that because
yeah.
I you know I kind of want to
Yeah.
I kind
It's
of
all
want to
good.
share.
Mhm. Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, this is something that I sort of I've always contemplated whether or
Mhm.
not to speak on this in public settings, because I always feel as if
Mhm.
everybody has their own journey, and I don't want to like implement what I go through into other people's lives, because I always feel as if I just don't want to suggest things that might not work for people.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess speaking from just what I've encountered from myself, um, would be the best step to saying this, is that when it comes to feeling as if I want to dive deep into what my psyche is, I always shut everything off.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember figuring out that the videos that I watch and the film and the TV, all the video games and all that type of stuff, it could end up being a crutch, because the
Mm-hmm.
one thing that you find to be the most powerful tool in your asset could also be something that you'll lean on too much. And
That's right.
so I sometimes find myself just deciding to shut off from the outside world even more so than I do sometimes. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and then I realize that diving deep into those uncharted territories, where you might not feel as if you want to go forward with the things that are in your mindset. Like, you might not want to encounter the thoughts you had when you had hurt that person, or
Mm-hmm.
whether or not you feel as if that a person hurt you,
Mm-hmm.
whether or not you feel as if you're in your status that you want to be in, whether it be career wise or anything like that. When you dive deeper into those thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
it's funny how you can find a lot of inspiration out of it that you were struggling and sort of just diving into something that you felt you were going to drown from. Then you end up finding that
Right.
there's so many lights at the end of each tunnel.
I know what you're talking about. That's why I'm laughing and smiling because it's like all through that pain and then you finally get out of it and it's like that release, right? Like I made it. Like I feel inspired, strong, and like what's next? Like you know what I mean? I know what
Yeah,
you're talking about, like that relief feeling like I don't feel that way anymore. I'm not clinically depressed anymore or like I'm not suffering anymore from this or whatever issue you have, right? Let's say you start sleeping good, it's like, oh thank God. Like you know what I mean? Like that phase
yeah.
is over. I know what you mean, that release.
And,
I
it's
feel like
funny.
those.
It's it's really
Wow,
funny because for me, um, the battle isn't over, but
that's
every
right.
time I look deep within myself, instead of running away from um my fears and my anxieties and all these things,
Mhm.
I discovered that there's a lot more to love than there is to be afraid of.
Wow.
Yeah.
You have a great smile too, Ryan, and like just
Hey,
so much depth. I don't know if you create live videos, but I would love to like watch your Facebook live videos, and I'm sure everyone who's tuning in would love that as well. You should
yeah,
start speaking on topics on a daily basis or weekly, whatever it is, and you should share. People need to hear your voice, and that may give you more confidence and ease you knowing that you have support and knowing that other people have been through the same things. That gives you a support group. You know, Try together what I'm going to release next, and but just even doing this, right? My therapist had told me, I don't need to go to a different support group. I can start my own support group. And this is therapeutic for me as well because I'm able to share my true self. I have nothing to hide in life. Like, literally, I have no secrets. I speak about everything very freely, no family secrets, nothing is left. And that's why I'm able to be so free. So I don't know what it is that may be hindering you, or that thought that you can't get out, or something you feel like you need to take to the grave because, incest was something that I was going to take to the grave. And then I've liberated myself by sharing it with, confronting the people and sharing it with my parents. And it's like, I have nothing to hide. And it took me a few months through Mr. Les Brown's Power Voice Academy when someone else shared their incest regarding their incest story. And I was like, that's the word for it. I was like, so that's what I went through, because molestation, sexual abuse, sexual assault, sexual harassment, all these terminologies can get mixed up, but it's like, what is it that you really experience? Because a lot of people don't even know the definition of what has happened to them or what someone has done to them. And it's like, you really need to educate yourself, because if you don't, you won't know when it's happening to you, when someone's harassing you and when it's not harassment. Anything makes you uncomfortable and you tell the person to stop and they keep doing it, that's harassment, you know? It's not okay. And a lot of women and even men, like, people don't know that. And I remember, I know I'm going on sharing mine, but I remember when I had told, a friend of mine that, hey, a Lyft driver harassed me. And they were just like, that's not, they were laughing. They thought it was funny, but there's nothing funny about that. Like, I have boundaries and being very serious. But yeah, so, you're just
Yeah.
amazing. You're just amazing. Like, keep building, and like, projects. Like, where can we find these projects, Ryan?
Well, we're actually in me and my partner are in the midst of creating for his production company. We're in the midst of creating a trailer for
Yeah.
everything. So once that's said and done, then I'll definitely forward it to you because I love being able to share on this platform. This is a great platform for a lot of people.
Oh. Yeah, so cute. I would love to post it and have you bring you back on again and talk more about it. And yeah, people can connect with you here, right? On your Facebook.
Yeah. I also have Instagram. I don't
Okay.
know how to exactly post it, but
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
What
I'll
is your
definitely.
Instagram handle?
It's RLC BRBA. You
Mhm.
know, BRBA is sort of like inspired by Breaking Bad. That's one of my favorite shows ever.
Okay. I didn't watch it. I don't watch it. I may have watched it before, a few episodes. What else is it that you like to share with the viewers? Is there anything else you'd like to say?
um, yeah, I guess before we hop off, you know, there's there's this stigma that goes around
Mm,
that I don't necessarily believe in the idea of cancel culture for celebrities or everything
mm,
because I can always see that they're able to re-platform and establish themselves, so it doesn't really matter in the end.
mhm,
But
mhm,
I know that there is a lot of stigmas against people that have feelings over a lot of matters that can be considered controversial.
mm,
But what I want everybody to understand is that not everybody is necessarily a villain that is meant to be villainized.
mm,
Like there's some people that, just I've talked with so many people of so many different races and cultures,
mm,
sexualities and all that had differing opinions on different subjects. And I've never really, even if I found myself like personally disagreeing, never
mm,
once feeling completely offended unless they
mm,
were there to adamantly offend. Um,
mm.
because I realized that overall, a lot of people are coming from a lot of walks of life,
That's right.
and it's just a matter of making sure that if they're willing to be educated, if they're willing to see things from your point of view, then that is a step in its own right that can be appreciated.
Yes.
Because yeah, that's something that a lot of people tend to tend to sideline is that, oh well, people have this mentality of, oh well, that should be something that everybody should do. And not everybody's doing it. So that's something that we should all learn to take into account. Uh-oh. Are you there? For some reason, everything just went off. Doo-doo. Hmm. You know, well, her laptop had died. I just wanted to say, I just feel as if there's going to be a lot of things that a lot of people go through, and I don't necessarily like going into the general inspirational quotes of the day, but I feel as if everybody has their own hurdles. But the thing that I want to convey to everybody that is more so apparent to me with talking to her at this moment is that no one's alone, and no one has the ability to be alone because we're all within a planet of billions of people. So I just think that everybody is going to be okay if they find it in themselves to be okay. And not everybody will be able to conquer their demons. Not everybody will be able to go forward and see the beauty in life that can be provided, because it's very apparent that we can dive deep into cynicism, we can dive deep into depression, we can dive deep into the demons that plague us every day. But if you're one of those people that actually feel as if they are tired of being tired, then I think this is the platform for you. So I love this. This is great. See you guys later.